Big Ten football. It's in the game. How'd I do? Did I nail it? Conference play is here for Michigan football, and they are opening up at home versus Maryland as the number 4 Wolverines are 17-point favorites in the noon kickoff that is going to be airing on Fox this weekend. So Maryland is currently on a 5-game winning streak that goes back to last season, and their last loss was against Michigan, 59-18. So while Michigan always gets everybody's best game, you can guarantee that Maryland is really going to be out for them because, one, they want to keep their winning streak alive, but two, they definitely want revenge for last season. Now, both the Wolverines and the Terps have more than capable offenses. Of course, you have to take into consideration the defenses that they've been playing against for the first 3 weeks, but both offenses have been averaging just under 500 yards per game. Maryland has been allowing their opponents to average just under 400 yards per game, while for Michigan, their defense has been holding opponents under 200 yards per game. The Maryland defense is going to be coming into Ann Arbor this weekend with 7 sacks on the year so far, and they are certainly able to hold their own against opponents' running games. But with Michigan being able to have a very balanced attack between the passing game and the running game, even if this game is close at halftime, I don't see them being able to keep up with Michigan in the second half. Talking about the Terps offense, if you've watched any of their first 3 games, you've noticed that their offensive line can be pushed around a bit. That is something that is going to be vulnerable for them. So it'll be interesting to see how well the Michigan defensive front fares against their offensive line. So one of the biggest things coming from Maryland is their quarterback, Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa has to be one of the best things for the Maryland offense. Now, if we go back to the game of 2021, the Michigan defense just wreaked havoc for Tagovailoa. And you actually could tell that he was being bothered and that it was affecting his gameplay because of the great performance from the Michigan defense. So we'll have to see if, again, this year, they're able to do the same. The Maryland team as a whole is quite athletic and has a lot of speed. So they are capable of explosive plays that they've put up through the first 3 games. That is just another element that we're going to have to watch to see how well the Michigan defense fares against them. Now, while Michigan has Roman Wilson, Maryland has a player named Roman Hemby. He's a running back, and you are sure to hear his name plenty on Saturday. He has 294 yards on the season already with 3 touchdowns, and he is only a freshman. So I imagine that he is going to have quite the career if he's already starting off this well. Now, what might be the best element for this Maryland team is actually their wide receivers. The team is averaging 310 passing yards a game, and they have 3 different wide receivers with over 100 yards receiving and 1 tight end. Their leading receiver is a junior named Jarrett. He has 196 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. But not far behind him are seniors Jones and junior Copeland, who have 145 yards and 2 touchdowns and 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this is for sure Michigan's biggest test. It is no mystery that Michigan has had an easy first 3 weeks. It worked out very well for them with their quarterback situation. Now, we're not sure exactly how good this Maryland team is, even though they are undefeated, but they certainly are the most complete team that Michigan has faced so far. So that raises some interesting questions on exactly how Michigan is going to be able to compete. The pressure is going to be turned up on McCarthy. He needs to lead this offense. There's probably going to be some adversity. There are going to be times that it's going to be tougher for him than it has been in the past 2 weeks. I have no doubt in McCarthy's ability to be the leader of this team. It's just going to be interesting to see how far he's progressed, if he's going to have to build throughout the season or if he's ready to go from step 1. Now, with the Maryland defense, there certainly will be an opportunity to potentially light it up in the passing game. So as long as they do play smart, I think that we might still be able to get some explosive plays. Certainly not as many as we've seen in the first several weeks, but the opportunity still is there as Maryland has been allowing lots of their opponents to put up yards and large gains. I'll share some more final thoughts with the predictions here at the end of the episode. Before the prediction, I'm going to do another game lock here. I am finally 1 for 3 as I got the lock last week. I think I'm going to just avoid the teams of the West for right now and maybe stick in the East. This is kind of a tricky one. We have Big Ten play starting for most of the teams, and the matchups are rather unique. It was a little tough picking someone this week, but I am going to go with Penn State covering the negative 28.5-point spread at home versus Central Michigan. It seems like a lot, but when comparing it to the other teams and the other matchups, it seems like a safer bet because there are still some really unpredictable teams out there. All right, so here we go. Michigan versus Maryland. I think that Michigan is really going to have an advantage with their balanced attack between the passing game and the running game. Even if Maryland is able to keep the game close in the first half, I don't see them being able to keep up for the longevity of the game. We even saw some of that in last year's game as well. So, with this being the most complete team that Michigan is going to be facing, I do suspect that the defense will have some rust. It won't be performing at such a high level as it has been. I think it's an opportunity for the offense to flip the script where they can hold on to the ball longer, give the defense a break, and also then put more pressure on the opponent's offense so that the Michigan defense can lock down on them and then perform better as a whole. Something a little different this week, just to name a few players that I'm predicting that are going to stand out. I think that Henning is going to have a fantastic game. I think that his ability to be able to be involved on all facets of the offense as well as special teams, I think he's really going to be able to put up some good numbers. I'd like to see Eric All get more involved. So I'm kind of like doing this as wishful thinking that he's going to have a very productive game. And then on the defensive side, I think Barrett is going to be someone who's going to be able to put up some good numbers as well. But for final score predictions, I'm going to say Michigan 38 and Maryland 20. It should be an exciting time Saturday. I always love it when conference play starts. I hope you get to enjoy the game as well and have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll be back for a reaction episode afterwards. Until then, go Blue.